Genesis 34. And Dinah, the daughter of Leah. Remember now, Jacob has 12 kids. He's going to have one more later and have 12 sons. But right now he's got 11 boys and one daughter, Dinah, daughter of Leah, which she bare to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. Oh, boy. You know, when your kids start hanging out with the neighbor kids, you have to be kind of careful who you let them hang out with, because they can make them or break them. How many of you ever did something stupid when you were little, but it was only because you were with a neighbor kid who was also stupid, and had you not been with them, you would not have done it? If you get dumb and dumb together, ain't no telling what's going to happen, okay? Man, I had some kids in my neighborhood. I would never have done some of the things if it hadn't been for them. You can always blame it on them, you know. They're probably saying the same thing about me right now. But the fact is, she went out to see the daughters of the land. Okay. And that's around the area of Shechem. Here's Jerusalem right here, even with the top of the Dead Sea. Whoop, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 miles to Shechem, wherever it is. Okay. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he saw this girl, this daughter, he took her and lay with her and defiled her. Assuming it was voluntary on her part, I don't know, but he seduced her, whatever it was. He lay with her and defiled her. And his soul clave unto Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, and he loved the damsel, and spake kindly unto the damsel. And Shechem spake unto his father Hamor, saying, Get me this damsel to wife. I want to marry this girl. Now that's pretty unusual. The guy's an honorable man. Usually, a guy who will do this, have sex with a girl before they're married, wants to dump her right afterwards, okay? She use him and lose him. But she's at least honorable, said, I want to marry that girl. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now, it's strange. Even though Jacob heard this, he never did anything about it. Most dads would get a ball bat or, a Glock 45 or something, and explain it to him in a language they can understand. A 48?
40.
Glock 40, okay, yeah. And Jacob heard that he defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with his cattle in the field. And Jacob held his peace until they were come. And Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out unto Jacob to commune with him. And the sons of Jacob came out of the field when they heard it. And the men were grieved, and they were very wroth, because he had wrought folly in Israel in lying with Jacob's daughter. Folly in Israel? Jacob's name is Israel. He's got 12 kids. That's the whole nation right there. Now, by this time, maybe some of the older boys were married and starting their own families, because we don't know how long he'd been there. But we'll see they're all, mostly grown up. Which thing ought not to be done? I mean, it's just something natural in every culture of the world. There's some things you just don't do. It just seems to be built into people. That's wrong. I've asked atheists all over the world. Simple question. Guys, if evolution is true, how do you tell right from wrong? On any topic. I want you to make me a list of 10 things that are wrong. But before you make that list, I'd like you to tell me, how are you determining if something's right or wrong? Where's the measuring stick? They don't have one. That's why they got to borrow ours from our Bible. Anyway, this thing ought not to be done. And Hamor communed with them, saying, The soul of my son Shechem longeth for your daughter. I pray you, give her him to wife. And make ye marriages with us, and give your daughters unto us, and take our daughters unto you. In other words, our two tribes are going to become one tribe. We're going to merge things, which happens all the time down through history, okay? And ye shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade ye therein, and get you possessions therein. And Shechem said unto her father, and unto her brethren, Let me find grace in your eyes, and what ye shall say unto me I will give. This is the boy. Again, he's kind of honorable. He said, I want your sister for my wife. What would you like for a dowry? You tell me what you want, I'll give it. So he's apparently not just in lust with her, but actually in love with her, which is, some kind of honorable. Ask me never so much dowry and gift, and I will give according as ye say unto me. But give me the damsel to wife. And the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father deceitfully. Oh, where did they pick that up from? Let's see, from their dad, their grandpa, their great-grandpa. Okay, seems to be a family trait here. They answered him deceitfully, and said, because he had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said unto them, We cannot do this thing, to give our sister to one that is uncircumcised. for that were a reproach unto us. But in this will we consent unto you, if ye will be as we be, that every male of you be circumcised. Then we will give our daughters unto you, and we will take your daughters to us, and we will dwell with you, and we will become one people. But if ye will not hearken unto us to be circumcised, then will we take our daughter, and we will be gone. So kind of a threat here. Here's your choice. You all get circumcised, or else we're leaving. And their words pleased Hamor and Shechem, Hamor's son. And the young man deferred not to do the thing, because he had delight in Jacob's daughter, and he was more honorable than all the house of his father. And Hamor and Shechem his son came unto the gate of their city, and communed with the men of their city. Remember, the gate was sometimes, the wall would be pretty thick, and they'd have 2 gates in the thickness of the wall. And then I get over here where you can see. In between, they would have an area between the 2 gates where they would have their city council, town council meetings and stuff, between the gates. These men are peaceable with us, therefore let them dwell in the land, and trade therein. For the land, behold, it is large enough for them. Let us take our daughters to us for wives, take their daughters to us for wives, and let us give them our daughters. Only herein will the men consent unto us for to dwell with us, to be one people, if every male among us be circumcised as they are circumcised. Shall not their cattle and their substance and every beast of theirs be ours? Whoa, $signs. That's what they're seeing. Remember, Jacob had stolen everything from his, well, he tricked his father-in-law out of everything. His father-in-law tricked him with the wrong woman. It's like, there ought to be a, what do they call it, a soap opera about this, you know, Peyton Place, or As the Stomach Pumps, or, I mean, As the World Turns, or whatever. One of the soap operas. He said, all their cattle can be ours. And all the guys are thinking, whoa, $signs. Yeah, we're all going to get rich. Because he had a large herd of whatever it was, you know. I mean, he gave away hundreds of them to his brother just to appease him. Only let us consent unto them, and they will dwell with us. And unto Hamor and unto Shechem and his son hearkened all that went out of the gate of his city. And every male was circumcised, all that went out of the gate of his city. And it came to pass on the 3rd day, when they were sore, that 2 of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brethren, took each man his sword, and came upon the city boldly, and slew all the males. They were all hurting too bad, I guess, to be able to put up a fight, and so these 2 guys went in and killed them all, the men. Now, if you remember, Jacob had 4 wives, okay? He had Rachel, from which he got 2 sons, Benjamin and Joseph. Later, from Benjamin came King Saul. And Joseph had 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim. And later you'll see where they actually get to be their own tribe. Okay. And then Bilhah, the handmaid, had Dan and Naphtali. Zilpah, the handmaid, servant girl, had Gad and Asher. Leah, the one he didn't want, the ugly wife, had 6 boys, and 1 girl. 2 of the brothers, Simeon and Levi, are going to defend their daughter, Dinah, right here. They're going to defend her honor. So this is all kind of in the family of Jacob and Leah. If you keep all these guys straight, half of the tribes of Israel came through Leah, the one he didn't want to marry to begin with. And they slew Hamor and Shechem, his son, with the edge of the sword, and took Dinah out of Shechem's house, and went out. The sons of Jacob came upon the slain, and spoiled the city, because they had defiled their sister. Not only did they kill all the guys, once people get going with this vengeance kind of stuff, they get carried away. Well, let's just take everything. Let's just rob the whole town. Let's take everything. They took their sheep, their oxen, their asses, and that which was in the city, and that which was in the field, and all their wealth, and all their little ones, and their wives took they captive, and spoiled even all that was in the house. You know, the Bible talks about how when a person is offended sexually, there's just not much crime like that, okay? People go nuts over this particular crime. If someone rapes your daughter, or your wife, or your sister, whoso committeth adultery with a woman, Proverbs chapter 6 says, lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away. For jealousy is the rage of a man. Therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, though thou givest many gifts. This is why God had some laws given to the people in the book of Leviticus. If someone commits the crime of rape, the rapist is to be executed, killed. And the father of the girl, or the husband of the woman, gets to throw the first stone. I think there's something psychologically in our mind that when someone commits certain crimes, like you see that you can feel it in yourself when you're watching movies, and the bad guy finally gets it. You know what I'm talking about? The bad guy finally gets blown up or killed or something. You're going, yeah, he deserved it. If a girl is raped and the guy goes to prison for 10 years or 20 years, there's never a closure. There's never a psychological healing. She needs to watch him get executed, fried or stoned or shot or something, and then go spit on his grave every day for a couple of weeks, and she can heal up and say, man, he's gone. Otherwise, they're just never the same. There's a psychology behind this. God, in his infinite wisdom, said, for certain crimes, people have to be killed. Not only for the good of the victim, but for the good of society.
Amen.
And you slowly weed out this mean gene. You know, they can breed dogs to be mean, or breed them to be gentle, or breed them to be, shepherd dogs, or they can select a certain trait in the dog's personality. They do this with chickens. Like I was in prison with a guy who in Texas, raised the fighting chickens. And they would look for the meanest of the chicks, and they would keep them out and, slaughter the rest. And pretty soon you can get a whole flock of mean chickens. You could do this with the Russians have been doing this for years, getting gentle foxes. They keep the tame foxes out. A 50-year experiment they've done. And the foxes start to look like dogs after a while. The ears become droopy. They become multicolored. They're tame. They walk right up to you. They act and think like a dog, but they're still a fox. Just Google the Russian experiment with foxes they've been doing, for only selecting for one trait, tameness. That's all they selected for. You can select in humans. Humans have personality traits, and if certain people are just plain mean, and if they commit certain crimes, the Bible says they're to be executed, and that's for the good of society, to weed out the mean gene. And a person who's likely to rape somebody like this, if you keep executing those people who actually commit the crime, pretty soon, not only is it a deterrent, they were going to shoot some guy, I think it was Napoleon, was going to execute some guy who committed some crime, and one of the guys said, "You think this is going to deter crime?" He said, "It will for him. It's going to deter his crime. His crime spree is over." Okay, yeah, it's going to deter crime for that one. So whether it works for society or not kind of doesn't matter. I mean, I think it does. I think we could prove it does. But the victim needs this. The victim needs to see the guy executed. And she needs to be given the option of pulling the trigger if she wants, or flipping the switch if it's an electric chair, or do, she may not want to do that, but she should be given that option. I want to see that guy gone. Okay, so jealousy is the rage of a man. He will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not regard any ransom. Neither will he rest content, though thou givest many gifts. Tell you what, let's get the rapist to come rape your daughter, and then come back and say, hey, I'm sorry, here's $20. What would you dads say? What if he said, here's $2,000? What if he said, here's $200 million? You just can't pay for what you did, okay? Though thou givest many gifts. In John chapter 8, Jesus tells a very interesting story here. Jesus went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery, and when they had set her in the midst, they said unto him, Master, this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. Well then, excuse me, where's the man? I mean, hello, taken in the very act, what that to me means there's two of them, okay? They don't bring the guy, they bring the girl. Some societies just have this whole twisted idea that sexual crimes are one way. No, we got to get this straight. God set some simple rules down. Now, they said, Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned, but what sayest thou? They're trying to put Jesus against Moses. And he got out of it really, really slick. Okay? But in debates, somebody told me years ago, I asked some great preacher friend of mine, I said, how do you handle this question in a debate on creation evolution? He said, it's very simple. You put them against Jesus or put them against the Bible. That's why you hear me in my seminars and in my debates all the time. I'll say, now the Bible says A, B, C. If you want to call God a liar, you go ahead. But you're calling God a liar. God said he made everything in 6 days. He wrote that on a rock with his finger, handed it to Moses, the 10 Commandments. He don't stutter. He said he made everything in heaven and earth in 6 days. And those of you that believe in evolution, or believe the earth is billions of years old, you are calling God a liar, which you're welcome to do. I mean, this is America, the land of the free and the home of the slave. But you are calling God a liar. Jesus said the creation of Adam was the beginning. Matthew 19:4, Mark 10:6. When you say there was things going on before Adam came, like, dinosaurs millions of years ago, you're calling the Bible a lie. And you're welcome to do that, but I think you're on dangerous ground for multiple reasons. You're going to be judged for every word comes out of your mouth. Okay, the Bible says that in Matthew 12:34, 5, and 6. And you're going to stand before God. And if you have offended these little ones that believe in him, Matthew 18 says you'd be better off with a millstone hanged about your neck and thrown into the depth of the sea. Can you swim really, really good with a rock around your neck? We shall see. Anyway, so put them against Jesus. I do that all the time in my seminars. I say, look, you can believe whatever you want, but the Bible says this, and you're saying the Bible is wrong. Just make sure you understand clearly what you're doing. You ready to face God with that? So this they said, tempting him, back to John 8, that they might have to accuse him. They were always trying to find something to accuse Jesus of. They do that with me all the time. 14 thumbs down with no views at all. I think it's hilarious. I must be doing something right, Lady Di. I'm thrilled that certain people hate me. I mean, that's just the way it ought to be. I'm glad. I would be nervous if they didn't hate me. I think these people try to be friends with everybody. Oh, good God, good devil, good everything. No. Just, they ought to take a stand for something, and somebody will hate you. Just that simple. So, but Jesus stooped down with his finger and wrote on the ground as though he heard them not. There's only twice in the Bible where it says Jesus wrote anything, and they're both in this passage. He wrote on the ground like he didn't hear him. It doesn't say what he wrote. There's been a lot of sermons preached on that, but I think these guys are all standing there with their rocks ready to stone this woman to prove how bad Jesus was, disobeying Moses' law. I think he was writing down addresses or dates. And the guy standing there with the rock looks down and says, oh no, he knows. Oh no. And it says, beginning at the eldest, they dropped their rocks and left. The longer you live, the more you realize, I'm a sinner too. I better not accuse this person because I have sinned. One guy was chewing me out up and down for getting divorced. My wife divorced me, I said, well, how many women have you had in your life? He said, what? Well, what does that matter? I said, you want to be my judge? Just answer my question. How many women have you slept with in your life? Well, I don't want to talk about that. Okay, well then quit accusing me. Okay, I think I did honorably. I was a virgin on my honeymoon and faithful for 42 years and there's nothing I can do. Okay, can you say that? No, well then shut up. Okay, but this idea of problems people have with marriage and divorce and sexual sins and all this kind of stuff, it's a major problem in the world. I mean, worldwide. And has been. The first command God gave to Adam, first thing God said, anybody know what it was? Be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth. That's the first thing he said to the animals and the first thing he said to man. And that's the greatest drive of every species on the planet, from termites to whales. I've never met a man who did not understand that, and I've never met a woman who did understand that. But that's just the way it is, okay? And God made it that way, and it's part of the plan. But along with that incredible gift and that incredible drive, he gave some simple rules. Don't commit adultery. Okay? No fornication. He has the right to give those rules, and those rules are for our good. But Jesus wrote on the ground. I can't wait to see the video of that when I get to heaven. One atheist was telling the kids, do you really believe the story about Jonah and the whale? This little kid said, I believe the story about Jonah and the whale. Said, well, how could he get swallowed by a whale and live for 3 days? And the kid says, I don't know. When I get to heaven, I'll ask him. And the teacher said, well, what are you going to do if Jonah's not in heaven? The kid said, well, then you can ask him. I love that. So he wrote like he heard him. Now back to Genesis. Back to Genesis 34. And Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, ye have troubled me. I want you to see how many times. See, Jacob is very, very self-centered. It's all about him. I've met a lot of people like that. It doesn't matter what the rest of the it's all about them. And Jacob said, ye have troubled me to make me to stink among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And I, third time, being few in number, they shall gather themselves together against me and slay me. He's just worried about his personal safety. Completely self-centered. I don't know how to help a person like that. I've met some. Their only focus is what's in it for me. And I shall be destroyed, I and my house. 8 times he talks about himself. He's worried about him. And they, brothers, said, should he deal with our sister as with an harlot? Question mark. End of chapter. He never answered. Hey, Dad, these guys treated our sister like a harlot. Are you going to let that go? End of story. There's so many questions in the Bible. Almost all of Jesus' questions are never answered. I didn't put it up here. I should have. Luke chapter 18. Jesus is telling the story of the parable of the unjust judge, and the woman kept going in saying, please, judge, please avenge me of my adversary. And finally he relented and gave in. Okay? Not because he thought he had to, but because he's sick and tired of this woman keep knocking on my door. Okay? Keep talking. Yak. Okay, give her what she wants. But then in Luke 18, verse 8, it throws this verse in there that has bothered me for 49 years now. When the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? Never answered. The question is never answered. Luke 18:8. When Jesus does come back for the rapture, which comes at the end of the tribulation, by the way. I thought for 40 years it comes at the beginning. It does not. Okay, get my book on that. I wish it came at the beginning, but he's coming at the end. But Luke 18:8, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? The question is never answered. I think it's probably not much. I think during this 7-year period, most Christians are going to get killed. How many Christians are there right now in Syria? Less and less every day. They're hanging them. They're crucifying them. They're cutting their heads off. Just Google it. It's in Egypt, Christians are being killed by the hundreds. In Muslim countries all around the world, it's coming here to America. Mark my words. When the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? I think the rapture is going to be pretty much a non-event. When the flood finally came in Noah's day, how many people got on that boat?
8.
8. What happened to the rest of them? They drowned. I don't know. This 7-year period is going to be a great falling away in the first 3.5 years. A great falling away. People are going to quit serving God like you've never seen before. How many outspoken, vibrant Christians are there preaching on the radio in Syria right now? Or standing on the street corner sharing the gospel? Or knocking on doors asking people if they want to be a Christian? Probably none. Because as soon as they start doing that, they're going to kill them. That's coming here. Anyway, interesting way to end a chapter with a question that's never answered. Dad, he treated our sister like a harlot. Now later on, when Jacob gets to be really, really old and he's dying, he calls in the 12 boys and he gives them all, tells about their future. What's going to happen to them? And this event's going to come up again. You'll see that coming up later.